Okay, we will call this meeting to order at 6:04. Mr. Secretary, can you call the roll? You know what? Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you.
Which stands one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
All right, we're on item 3 now. Roll call.
Board Member Naran. It's just a roll call. Board Member Owen.
Present.
Board Member Stewart.
Present.
Board Member Ross.
Present.
Board Member Cohen-Thompson.
Present.
We have quorum.
All right, thank you. We are moving now to item number 4, Community Forum. This item is for any members of the public who wish to address the commission or the board. Are there any members of the public who wish to address the commission, Mr. Secretary?
No one currently.
Any folks online, Manny?
Through the chair, currently do not have any members of the public signed up for this item on the agenda.
All right, thank you. Moving on to item number 5 is the consent and approval of the agenda. So is there a motion to approve the minutes from our January 15th meeting and the agenda for this meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Can we get a roll call, please?
Board Member Naran.
Aye.
Board Member Owen.
Yes.
Board Member Stewart.
Yes.
Board Member Ross.
Yes.
Board Member Cohen-Thompson.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes unanimously. Moving on to agenda item number 6, report of the board secretary. Mr.
Nothing to
Davis.
report right now. Thank you.
All right, moving on to item number 7, city attorney's report, Mr. Reisman.
Nothing to report this evening, Chair.
Beautiful. Moving on to item number 8, report from the council liaison. We have Councilmember Bergenzer in the audience. No report. All right, thank you. Item number 9, report from the chairperson or members of the committee or board. Anyone on the committee or the board have a report?
No.
Seeing none, we're going,
To the chair.
yeah, Commissioner or Board Member Cohen-Thompson.
When do we go over the drafts? We do that here, or is there some place in
The drafts of the,
the policy drafts?
oh, that is later on in the agenda, I believe.
Just wanted to make sure we didn't miss it. Thank you.
Yes. Any other board member have a report? Okay, seeing none, we are going to move on to our number 10, our action calendar. The first item we have is item A, board discussion and questionnaire regarding MRG report, and I will hand it over to the secretary.
There was a consulting company who came out, MRG, that did a report on the commissions, and leadership just wants you guys to take a look at the questionnaire, give us some feedback, and I'll bring it back to the leadership.
Okay, I'd imagine everyone has some time to look at the report. Would you all rather, we can go through question by question, or we can just have a discussion about the report overall and the question and just. Go ahead.
So do you want to just do question by question? I'll just take notes.
Okay, so we'll go question by question. Let me pull that up here. And then we can just go down the line, and if anyone has any comments, or if folks want to just jump in there. I'll read the first question here. The first question is, do you believe you have the necessary training and tools to help you be effective in your role? And so if anyone wants to jump in there and
Yeah, I have a comment. So I think the one thing that I don't think I had enough training on was Rosenberg's Rules of Order. I think I basically watched Peggy and how she operated, and that's how I learned what I know about those. So I think that would have been good to have more training on that.
Board,
I'm saying you're an exemplar on how to use Rosenberg's Rule of Order, but you are the only training I got. So thanks for that. But I could have done with more. I could have done with more formal training.
Well,
Yeah.
Board Member, I will email you a cheat sheet
Thank you. Thank you. That'd be great.
If anybody else wants it, let me know. Be happy to send it to you. It's a one-page cheat sheet, very simple.
Great, thank you.
Anyone on this side here? Board Member Ross?
I don't know if it falls under training, but I would say some sort of education as to the current status of items that the board is considering, the recent item that the board has concluded. Things like that would be helpful to get people up to speed on what we're actually doing this coming month, last month, the previous 6 months. That would be very helpful. It's not really training necessarily, but education as to where we are would help people jump right in.
What? Go ahead.
So does that mean you're saying training for the public or training for the board?
For the board.
Board Member Cohen Thompson also, there's a questionnaire in the packet if you need that as well. And anyone else?
Actually, the other thing was, it took a while to understand the process by which things get agendized.
That's a common thread in the city.
Yeah. So that would have been good to have more instruction on that, because it turned out to be more complicated than I had assumed. So that's the other thing that I thought was missing.
Just to add to that, is a good point. I would say we've only recently started having standing agenda items, which I think is sort of essential to the work. So that sort of education would be helpful as well.
Go ahead.
I agree, like some type of training or some type of more deep details of what we are really going into, that will help us.
You speak to the mic a little bit so we can hear you down here.
Oh,
Buddy, murmuring.
oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Your voice.
You
Okay.
can,
Just put it
you
like-
can pull it.
So it's important. These are new mics and you really have to get them right against your mouth for them to work properly. Otherwise, none of us will be able to hear you.
Is it better? Okay. Yeah, I agree with them. Like it's more kind of training or education based on what we're doing. That will be helpful.
Anyone else? Okay, I'll add my comments. Yeah, not to beat a dead horse, but I think more training just as a whole and I guess we're kind of covering 1 and 2, or 1 and 1B, but for all commissioners to really understand the role of the commission. And I don't just mean like what's written into the code, but actually what they can do, and where they can push the limits a little bit. And I know later on it talks about a work plan, one of the later questions, but I think if commissioners knew that they are essentially an extension of the council, I think more folks would be, one, more willing to be on commissions. I think we wouldn't have as many issues with a lack of engagement. But 2, I think you'd get maybe a lot more discussion on boards, and folks feeling like their time, which this is volunteer work, but their time is actually being used effectively. So if there's no other questions, we can move on to 1B unless you all have covered that as well. Oh, okay. Moving on to question number 2. Do you feel the topic of your board oversees, the topic your board oversees is easily understandable, focused, and reflects the work you do? Warren Ross?
Yes.
That's it.
No. I would say I do feel like the topic of the board is understandable on a broad basis, but I know from conversations here at meetings as well as with other committee members that the scope of our authority is not very well defined. Whether it's just a discussion of privacy or whether surveillance encompasses more than just privacy is, I think, an unanswered question in a lot of ways. And we've had some input from the city attorney on that. But I think since all we have to go on is a fairly vague ordinance, it would be helpful to have a more defined goal in mind for the board, a more defined, sort of easily understandable topic that we are to address. And what's outside that scope, what's inside that scope is actually not super clear to me.
Regarding that, it seems like the purpose and mission should be a topic. That way we would be more aligned in what it is that we're supposed to do out of the information we receive and the information that we request, because it needs to fit into the mission and the purpose of this commission. So a little, maybe a study session, a Zoom session on that would be very helpful.
Any other board members? No? All right. Oh, go ahead. No.
Yeah, something like there are topics where it's not pretty much very, I mean, more detail. Like, I mean, I can see it's there, but I think more clarification that what we are looking, that would be really helpful. It helps, but it's just more something breakdown. Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna move on to question number 3. And I think we all have the packet, so I'm not gonna continue to read these out. Um, so anyone want to jump in on the goals of the work plan? It seems like we kind of covered that a little bit, but any board members?
Again, that purpose and the mission, our goals and our work plan should be around what our purpose and our mission is.
I would simply add that I think having a work plan is essential. And I would support sort of having a mandatory work plan, just because I think it is so essential to have a structure, especially with new board members who don't quite understand roles, such as myself, new last year. And I think having a structured work plan, knowing what we're going into every month, other than an agenda that comes out, 3 days beforehand, would be very helpful, and I think we get a lot more done.
I agree.
I agree. Yeah. Sounds good.
Anyone else? Okay. Just to really I think, yeah, having a work plan, I think all commissions should be mandated to have a work plan. Personally, any commissions who don't have a work plan, I think they're just, I don't think that they're going to be effective. But I think, to board member Thompson's point, when we develop the work plan, we can also develop the mission and the vision. But I think as commissioners, I would reserve that for the commissioners to do within the work plan rather than leave it up to the city to define. I think, but yeah. So yeah, but I think having defined goals in a work plan will really move the work forward. I'm glad that this board has agreed to develop a work plan, and that we're going to move that forward tonight, I hope. And yeah, anyone else? Item number 3? No? All right, we're going to move on to question number, Councilmember Bergenzer.
Just for the work plan. Also, just to keep in mind that that's an opportunity for you to request funding if you need funds for your commission. We are heading into budget for the city. So this would be a time when you're developing your work plan. I don't know if you have budgetary needs or if you need like research or different things that you need funding for, but this would be the time to ask for it is in your work plan.
I'm very glad you mentioned that. So that came up in the report as well by MRG, and I was left after reading the report not knowing whether the work plan should actually include a proposed budget in it. And I'm getting a nod, so it seems like yes, we should, which is great insight. Thank you. And also, I don't know if I thought the MRG report referenced exemplars that it would include in an appendix, but I didn't see them. Whether there are any sort of exemplar work plans we could use as a template would be helpful as well from other cities, other examples.
Yeah.
Can't hear what's being said.
I shouldn't have opened my mouth. The city does have example work plans. Other commissions have turned them in. I know like I don't know if other cities have surveillance advisory boards that may not have examples, but we do have some. The Economic Development Commission, for example, has a work plan that they have a budget as part of.
Mhm. I will add that I know we had a discussion at some point, maybe that was just in our ad hoc committee meeting, but around developing a budget, potentially seeking an expert witness, so to speak. I can't forget the term we figured out during that conversation. Um, Subject matter expert, yes. Because unless we can find someone to do a pro bono, it's gonna take some funds to really get someone who's really gonna be good at that particular job. Um, but we'll get to that later on in our other discussion. Anyone else on question number 3? No? Okay, we're gonna move on to question number 4. And we'll open it up to the board. Member Russ?
Sure. I would say yes. I do think I feel like most of our recommendations come in the form of a policy recommendation or an edit. So I do think they flow to the city council rather well. And if they don't, I'm unaware of it.
I agree.
We're moving around.
I don't have much to say because it's my second. So we'll see when it comes to future, but so far being with the city council, they're pretty good in communicating with others. So. Yes.
I guess to our staff secretary, what is the process once this board approves or sends a recommendation to the council? How long usually does it take to get that on their agenda?
I'm not too sure, Tony.
Okay.
I can provide some
Yeah, please.
insight on that. So almost always when we ask for a recommendation, it has to do with the use of some type of surveillance system or equipment or software. And it's almost always a situation where the city council is considering entering into a contract with a vendor for that. So before that happens, that has to come to you to provide a recommendation. And then we always give you the option of adopting a resolution, either recommending it or not recommending it. That resolution then is carried forward to the council for their consideration when they're deliberating whether or not to enter into a contract with the vendor.
I guess my question is, what's the timeline?
It depends on when that's going to be on the council's agenda. So we try to get things to you as early as we can, as soon as staff's aware that there's going to be an ask for a new surveillance system of some kind, like the security towers was one of them.
Right.
That's fairly recent.
That's yeah. So I'm thinking about like the flock system when that came to be renewed. We approved it in August,
Right.
and then it didn't come to council until October.
Sometimes that happens just because of the workload that the council has and the space that's on that agenda.
Okay.
They're trying to keep the meetings from going to 2:00 in the morning anymore, like they have
They're getting
several
better.
times in the past, and
Yeah.
they are getting better. Yes. So, and staff has been given a directive to try and help with that. So it just depends on a lot of times on the number of items that need attention on the agenda.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else on question number 4? All right. Seeing none, we're going to move on to question 5. Does anyone have any comments or insight that they would like to share? No?
For me to comment on that, I would need to know, there again, mission and purpose and goals to know these other boards and commissions. That's where we would see the overlap, and not having that, it would be, for me, it would be difficult to address this question.
Okay. Thank you. Member Ross?
So I don't have much to say with respect to other commissions and the report suggestions with respect to other commissions, but with respect to our own, I think that there was a suggestion of combining the Surveillance Advisory Board with I think it was the police oversight. And I think there was a subsequent response by staff that's listed in the report to not do that, which I agree with. I think there's not much overlap between the two boards and our scope of authority. And I think it would actually do a disservice to combine the two.
Not here, no. Okay. So I think there are a couple of commissions that could probably be wrapped into or consumed by another. Like design review, I think they could probably be within the planning department or the planning commission. I know there's a lot of overlap. I think one reports to the other. Maybe even architectural heritage, maybe within planning. I know planning is more land use, but there's a lot of overlap there as well. And so those are just my thoughts. But additionally, I think any boards and commissions that are not having work plans or not really moving things forward, and have actual articulable goals, I don't think that there is a reason to continue just kind of having an exercise of wasting staff time to show up and, folks coming out to a meeting and not really having a purpose in what they're actually moving forward. Additionally, I'll just add this because I saw it in the report. I would agree with not approving, and this is really for the council, and maybe you can take this back, Councilmember Ginzer, but I would agree with not having commissioners who are jumping around commissions or not finishing their terms to be on other commissions. I don't think, it just doesn't bode well for institutional knowledge if you're just kind of jumping around from commission to commission, just looking for whatever seems hot at the moment. Anyone else have any comments on the MRG report? Okay. I'm sorry, are there any public comment on this?
Through the chair, no public comment on this item.
Thank you, Manny. All right, we're going to move on to the next item, item 10B, which is the adopt a resolution approving the mobile security tower policy. And I will turn it over to not Captain Batista. Okay. No, forgive me.
Jeremy Huff, appearing for Captain Bautista tonight. I do apologize. I believe everyone was just sent a new draft earlier this morning or afternoon. The draft that went out on January 14th contained language in it that was somehow omitted from the draft that went out on the 30th. The one that went out on the 30th had a few sections that were added from input from the board. In 435.3, a few words were added that are highlighted in yellow. And then on the next page in 435.6, there was a sentence that was added in yellow. When I started to study the material for tonight's meeting, I noticed.
I'm sorry, Officer Huff, could you actually point us in that direction? We don't have the yellow version there. Are they in black and white?
Sorry.
Actually, we don't even have the black. We just have letters, words.
Certainly. So 435.3, under authorized use, section D, the word investigative after training, and then crime analysis after research. Those are added to help for clarity. And then sentence 435.6, all MST data downloaded, that sentence, that was added for clarity as well. And then the section that I noted that had disappeared from the version on the 14th that was sent out on the 30th is 435.7 subsection F that begins with police personnel. That was a sentence that had been in the draft that you guys got on the 14th, but somehow didn't wind up on the one that was sent out on the 30th. So I do apologize for that.
This is the one about
Microphone.
Correct.
Yeah, let's try that again. This is the additional language about disclosure of locations.
That's correct, sir.
Great, thank you.
And if I may, one quick clarification for 435.6 in that second paragraph. I believe the change there was just to delete. There used to be language that said downloaded to the server. And I think that's what we took out there. So now it just says downloaded.
That could be. I think it may have said to the server, and did we change it to stored in accordance with established records and retention schedule?
Yeah, that could be. So we took out to the server and added the piece about in accordance with the existing.
Yes, sir.
Are there any board member comments? Board member Cohen, Thompson, no?
Well, I would say this, I think this as amended, this is in accordance with the meeting we had a few weeks ago. So I think we were pretty happy with it at the time. So I'm pretty happy with it now. So but if there are people have questions.
Are there any other board member comments? No. Manny, are there any online speakers?
Through the chair, no speakers at this time.
Thank you, sir. Okay, if there's no further discussion, we'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Seconded.
Can we get a roll call, please?
Board Member Naran. Board Member Owen.
Yes.
Board Member Stewart.
Yes.
Board Member Ross.
Yes.
Board Member Cohen Thompson.
Yes.
Motion pass.
All right, thank you, Officer Huff. Moving on to item 10C, which is the consideration and adoption of a surveillance advisory board work plan. Secretary David, did you want to take this, or did you want the ad hoc committee to take this one?
You take this one.
Okay. So as you all know, we were working on a work plan, and we covered some audit policies that we were going to that we proposed, and then we also have some some community engagement items that we were also proposing. And so in order to move this forward for the council meeting that's going to be coming on March 4th or 3rd, I believe, we have what we have in front of us. And then we also later on, I know we're going to have discussion around ad hoc committee, standing ad hoc committees, where we can continue to draft it out. Given the discussion tonight, I think it would be good for us to go back also and add maybe the mission and values, mission and goals of this board, so that we can be even more effective. But given the tight timeline, this is kind of what we have right now. And I hope you all have some time to take a look at it. And, we would love to hear any comments that you all have. Also, I will say it is very to the point. There's not a lot of fluff in there with history about the board or Vallejo and all these other things. But all that can be added. But like I said, with the tight timeline, we really focused on the audit plan we were focusing on, and additionally the potential for community engagement focus, and also an expert witness. So I'll open it up to the rest of the board if there's any comments.
Chair, I would propose that we would go down through each section. I had some concerns about some of the words that were used in here. And how do we do that? Do I just say what I would edit? Would edit that a word, because it's just about wordsmithing. That's all.
Yeah, absolutely. Which section were you
All
on?
right, section 1.
The compliance.
Purpose and intent.
Oh, for the compliance review audit.
That's the draft we're talking about, right?
Yeah, I'm just wanted to make sure we're on the same page.
I would read this as the purpose of this policy is to provide information regarding the acquisition and use of surveillance technology by Vallejo Police Department. Transparency, accountability, and civil liberties. Those words cause presumption, and policy should be not non-ambiguous. It should be very plain, very clear, and precise. And to provide the information is basically what we're doing. All right. We're not promoting anything, we're providing. That's what this board is supposed to do, is provide.
Well, can I interject really quickly?
Those are words I would get it.
No, sure. I just want to clarify, but this particular one is around actually auditing. The one you're looking at is the compliance review audit of part of the work plan. And that's actually around like auditing the systems. It's not, this one isn't about sharing information. It's actually when the department goes in to actually audit what they're doing.
I think the word civil liberties occurs multiple times in the document, so maybe it would be good to clarify what section we're discussing.
Maybe I can clarify. So the work plan has three larger sections. And what's labeled section 1 here is with respect only to the compliance review audit that is proposed. So I think what's
This inform, I was under the impression that we were going over the draft that we had received.
Yeah, it's a complete document with there's 3 different sections to it. And so should be, yeah, right there.
yeah.
It's page 58.
So the first. But it still said the same thing, just the same word.
Yeah, the language is the same, but I think that change, I would imagine that would change maybe the way it's viewed.
Acting Chair, may I ask a question, please, that I hope will help clarify this for you? The compliance review audit piece of this particular document is something that I recall City Council directing you to do for them. And my understanding in reading this would be that this is a policy that you're recommending that they adopt for you in order to conduct the audits of the surveillance equipment. Am I correct?
Precisely.
Okay, there we go. So that solves, because if I were just reading this and I saw the word policy, I would come out and say, you guys don't have that authority to adopt a policy. Only council can do that. But that's why I wanted to make that clarification. Hopefully that helps the board members to understand what it is you're doing here. This is the actual audit review policy that you're suggesting council should adopt.
Does that clarify, Board Member Thompson?
Well, I understand what we're doing, but I still say there are certain words in here that are a little ambiguous. We're providing information, and this whole thing about civil liberty protections and public trust. I'm with the board if they agree to that, overall, if everybody agrees to these words, then I have no problem with it. But those policy should be I'll just leave it at that. Those are the words that I would put out as a proposal, as opposed to the ones that are there.
Okay, did you have more to share?
No, because we were going one by one, so I thought everybody would have
Okay.
a comment on section number 1.
Any other board member? No? I think it may be better to go through the entire policy at once, but
However, you're the chair.
yeah, I think we'll just tackle the audit, the review audit at once. And then if anyone has any comments on any of the sections, we can address them as we're going along. Board Member Ross?
So I have a question, which is, so under the work plan, this first piece, the compliance review audit, sort of stands out as a policy, whereas the other 2 items are definitely sort of a proposal as part of a work plan with a goal and deliverables.
Correct.
So am I to understand that this section of the work plan isn't so much a work plan item as simply a policy proposal?
Yes. Well, so it was, and that was the part of the discussion that we had when we developed the ad hoc committee, was that we were going to develop some community engagement efforts, as well as some audit policies around different things. And ironically, or unironically, I guess, the policy for the security towers was separate, as that came later on, and there was another ad hoc committee about that. But if there had been, if it were not a separate committee, it would have also been a part of this. But given the urgency, we tackled that separately. So there would have been a section where there were policies, but and maybe we could have did that better. But it's just one policy sort of encompassed in what would have been like a policy section, so to speak.
Okay, thank you. That clarifies it. So, and I have no problem with that. I think in the future, I might suggest just breaking it out. So we have like a clean work plan where every piece of it is structured as a work plan item and a separate policy. But I understand the reason that we did it this way, just to speed things up.
Yeah.
So thank you. I did have one comment in response to Board Member Cohen Thompson's point. In section 1, I actually like the language about transparency, accountability, public trust in particular. I think that is the point of a compliance review audit, in order to promote transparency and use of these surveillance technologies. I would be okay with removing the civil liberties protections piece, since that's a little more opaque with respect to an audit, as opposed to putting a policy in place to control surveillance technology. So I would be fine removing civil liberties protections and keeping the other words there.
Any other board members? No comments? No. Board Member Naran? No. Any other comments on this section of the work plan? All right, we can move on to the community engagement piece here.
The chair.
Yes, ma'am.
Part of the committee. If I'm not mistaken, that was my project.
Yes, ma'am.
As a commitment to public outreach and engagement.
Yes, ma'am.
But I see you have something here. So are we looking to do what you wrote? Or are we looking to do the recommendations that I drafted?
The changes that were here were from the last board meeting we had. We had a discussion about the work plan and took some input from the rest of the board. And then I took that back and then developed it. And then we met last week, I believe. Remember, all right, last week? We met last week and talked about it. And then now this is what we're bringing forward here.
So why was I given the assignment?
Board member, you need to get your mic closer to you. People can't hear you out.
Well, I was not a part of that meeting, and I had submitted this earlier, and I expected that the work that I put forth here would have been considered. So you provided that and this in your report, and this report, this draft that I presented, drew up. Where does that fit in with what you've done? Because mine is, the one that I provided is a little different than this.
I think it built on your report, actually. I would argue that, yeah, it builds on what you had. But again, we had a conversation at the last meeting with all that information, I guess, out there. And then this is what I went back and kind of built off of what the rest of the board said. But actually, this is great discussion, because that's actually why we're, sharing it now. So before we move forward, we can absolutely incorporate more if you feel like there's something missing from what you had envisioned.
No, I'll leave it alone.
I just want like a little bit clarification. So this is what we discussed last time, right? This is a breakdown of it, that this is a policy that we want the council to follow.
This, are you referring to the compliance review audit?
Yeah.
the compliance review audit was something that came out of the board. The board, well, it was something I suggested, but then the board agreed, and then we then moved forward with an ad hoc committee, which took it separately to develop. And this is the end product we have here, as well as with input from the rest of the board from the last meeting and previous meetings as well. And so, yeah, the goal is to, once we have this, it goes to the council, and then they provide feedback. They either accept or reject it, and then we move forward appropriately from there. Either it comes back to us because they say, hey, make these changes, and we do that, or they accept it and it becomes policy. I'm sure given the compliance review audit policy, there may be some meet and confer with PD that has to happen, but this is our contribution to the council and the use of the surveillance technology at large.
So this is, sorry, this is what we want them, like the council to approve for other policy, like.
Yes.
Board. All right, thank you. Just wanted to make clarify.
Are there any other comments on the community engagement piece?
Yeah, I would say I think this is a really important piece of the work plan. I think the community engagement is essential, and right now we don't really have a plan for it. And I think this is a great start, and there's some great language in here. I think the idea of not only encouraging public participation, but also providing some sort of public education about what we do and what surveillance technologies the police department uses would be really helpful. I don't know that many people in the city have a great understanding of the technologies that we talk about every day. So I think the piece about providing public education materials is great. I would say there might be some amount of consolidation of hosting events, because this and our meeting today and our meetings every month are, after all, the opportunity for the public to come and give their input. So I would say it's not working very well. We don't have any public here, but I think with an effort towards education, effort towards actually getting people to come here, would be the primary goal, and having supplemental events is important only if it helps in encouraging public participation here at our meetings.
That's something that board member Owen and I talked about as well. And I think, and actually board member Colin Thompson, we mentioned that as well. And that's one piece that I remember specifically we discussed. I think the goal, and obviously, the board, we'll move forward and figure out what we'll do with this piece. The goal was to take the conversation outside of City Hall. There's obviously, different reasons why folks don't come to City Hall. There's a number of reasons why folks don't show up. There's work. There's other things that people have life. And so the thought was that if we are promoting, if we're somewhere out in the community, not the farmers market, but just like, hey, there's this, the SAB's gonna have a community engagement portion on the east side of town, at, I don't know, noon on a Saturday, not obliging anyone to do that. But on noon on a Saturday, you may get more engagement, and folks were like, hey, I did see this. I had some time. I figured I'd stop by because it seemed pretty interesting, right? Rather than, oh, it's just another city meeting. Why would I go? I'll be there to 2 a.m. Why would I go to that? But I received your comments, and no, I really appreciate it. Any other board members? Is that a portion you wish to change that you want to take out? Or what are your thoughts?
No, I don't think I think it's worth keeping. I think the priority should be leveraging and using events in order to encourage public participation at our structured meetings. So holding other events, I think, is perfectly fine, as long as the goal is to educate and get participation here, where we're actually discussing the important issues that we discuss.
Okay. Any other board member?
I think, which I mentioned, it's one of the step I think we're going to be planning to take right in future, trying to organize an event where we can be there.
Well, it's the the thought is that sort of to what we were talking about earlier about having a mission, vision, and goals, right? If we have a work plan, we're more likely to do these things, right?
Right.
Rather than just kind of spinning our wheels, figuring out why no one's showing up or if we're being effective. So, we could adopt this policy and never have a community engagement. This doesn't obligate us to do anything, right? But it's saying, okay, we have this, like we can somehow move forward to engage the community differently than a meeting here on a Thursday night.
So this will, once this is passed, we can start doing other community engagement. Because once we have this, we can present to them what we have, or what we do.
Well, it would, once that happened, the board would have a discussion about whether or not that'd be something that we'd like to move forward with and do, and we can sort of break down on the board what that looks like and how we move it forward. Yeah.
Thank you.
Through the chair, I just want to remind all the board members to speak clearly into the microphones. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Manny.
Thank you, Manny. Any other comments on this section of the report? No? All right. And then the last section here, I believe, was the external subject matter expert. And I'll elaborate a little bit. In the ordinance that actually develops this board, we're entitled to a subject matter expert. And I know we have a number of folks who work in the space currently, but you all won't want to be here forever. And so the idea is that we put this forward to where on a annual basis, the board is developing a list of individuals who are willing to support the board and provide expert analysis and expert analysis on what technology the city has, what the board can do, what's factual, what's not, what are we overlooking, and so that is what this particular section is about, is developing a list of folks who are going to be supporting the SAB, rather than just relying on the city to do that work. Are there any board member comments? Go ahead.
I think it's a great idea. I especially liked the piece about having sort of a standing roster. I think that would help a lot, especially to sort of retain institutional knowledge, right? If we have a standing roster, we can use that for years to come. One thing I didn't see addressed here, which is hard to address, is the timing and getting people and experts to show up at a predetermined time that we have to agendize and is, on a Thursday night on a specific date could be quite difficult. So I don't know if there's a way to plan for that, but I can see it being quite difficult to want an expert and then actually get an expert to come on that particular day.
To the chair, the secretary would reach out to whomever we recommend to be that expert. And when the secretary gets a date and a time from that expert, he will notify us and then we can put it on the agenda. That's how you handle that.
Thank
The
you.
secretary reaches out to that person and that person then gives him the date and time that they're available to service this board. And then it goes on our agenda. That's the process.
The other thing that thank you, Board Member Thompson. The other thing that's not here that is kind of part of the process that'll really play out is that getting actual folks on the list, which is kind of like the second step of this. Like this is approved, where the city will hopefully put out an RFP seeking experts to really support this, and that could be, again, pro bono, or if we can't find anyone pro bono, then obviously there'd be a cost to that, and we could work through that with the our city attorney and our staff secretary to develop what that budget will be. But that's one thing that's not addressed here, and I want to make sure that that was clear and understood as well. Go ahead, Board Member Ron.
I think last time,
Speak to the microphone.
the last time one of the members mentioned, I mean, that he was gonna look into Oakland, something where they have an online classes or something that we can pay into and we can have an online classes.
Well, I think that was about training.
Oh,
So
that's the training.
That was training for us individually.
Oh,
This would be seeking someone else who's actually,
can come.
yeah, who's in the space, who it's their job to really dissect different policies and different technology. And they would really be able to explain those things to us on a more meta level, so to speak. You have a comment to the attorney?
I do. So this would be one of the items that it would be important to determine what a budget would be, as Councilmember Bergenzer was suggesting. Because if there's no budget for it, if council hasn't budgeted and appropriated funds,
Right.
then we can't go hire experts.
Right.
Right? Then you have to go back to council with a request to modify the budget, which is not that simple of a process, and it takes some time, 2 meetings at least, because there's a 2-step process to that as well. So this would be something, if you're going to submit this to council, they're going to want to know how much money are you going to need? How much money do you think it's going to cost? And again, it's an estimate because we don't have any idea at this point, right? So I wanted to point that out, that might be something that you might want to discuss tonight, or come back. You could come back at a different meeting and discuss it. It's up to you.
Okay.
Also, I think that
Yeah.
VPD folks have some comments on the audit portion of this.
Sure.
If
Okay.
when you have a chance to go back to
Yeah.
that.
We'll finish this portion, then we'll go back to that. Did you have more comments, Board Member Ron?
Yes, I just have a question. So right now we do have a budget, right?
We have, I mean, I'm sure there's a standard budget of like $400
Like,
right
we-
now, or it's zero.
Not for this year?
Okay, yeah, we have no budget now, but
Then nothing.
no,
Oh,
not,
okay, just everything.
we didn't have a
I
budget.
think
I
council allocated $1,000 to, I think, all the commissions, so you could do things like buy name tags and stuff like that. But that wouldn't come close to being able to pay for
Right.
experts to come and give you presentations and the prep time that they would want to be paid for to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the deadline to? I'm sorry, I thought I heard last time when we were talking, I thought I heard 2,000 was the budget.
So council's in the process of considering what we call the mid-year budget adjustment.
Right.
So that's coming up at council. The budget in Vallejo runs on a fiscal year from July 1st to the next June 30th. So
Okay.
that's the fiscal year. So they're going to be starting the normal budget process for the new June 1st budget for 26, 27 very soon, probably end of March, first part of April, right after they do the mid-year budget adjustment. So that's why I suggested, since this is going to council March 3rd, if you had a budget ask, that you included that there in the plan itself, so that they at least have some idea. Otherwise, you might be stuck waiting until the new fiscal year
Yeah.
to get funded.
Thank you.
Do anyone have any thoughts on the budget discussion?
I don't have anything on the budget, but I'd like to go back to scope and the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but near constitutional or civil rights
Sure.
implications. I would ask
You
that we
think
would
the microphone?
strike that.
You think the microphone?
On the scope number 2, going back to the bullet heads there, constitutional or civil rights implications, I
Mhm.
believe we should strike that, because that doesn't come under the scope of everything else we're talking about as an advisory committee or commission.
Okay, thank you. Remember Ross? That's what she's proposing, yeah.
Sure, I would disagree with that. I think the constitutional and civil rights implications would be a good subject. For instance, getting a legal authority from a local law school to come and talk about new case law with respect to block technology, which has been in the news. Something like that, I think that's how I read constitutional and civil rights implications. Perhaps it can be read differently, but that's who I would have in mind, and I think that is essential.
Anybody else? Any other comments on that? Yeah, I would I would agree with board member Barras. I think that's essentially I think that may be even written into the ordinance. Don't quote me on that, but I know there was a lot of conversation around civil rights implications when I applied to this board, and those were questions from the actual council. And so I would propose that stay in there, given that we would need someone to actually speak with the deep understanding of those things to this board. Go ahead, board member Naran.
I mean, those are when we put into the policy right here. Those are constitutional and civil rights are broader, like when it comes to those words, it becomes so much broader. So it's kind of very, I mean, being there is okay, but it's just, what's the purpose right here? Like,
Well, this purpose is that
I mean, I know the civil rights implication is like we're protecting people, like when,
Right.
but this is like the matter of export, like this is for the, I think, external person, right? That
right.
who's
It's
going to-
for them to come speak
right to us,
educated.
educate us.
Yeah, absolutely. Or on issues that have arisen in those particular realms when it comes to surveillance technology. Go ahead, board member Owen.
Yeah, actually, now that I think about it, most of the organizations working in the area of surveillance are civil liberties organizations, the ACLU, the EFF, that kind of thing. So I think excluding them from the experts we would talk to is excluding probably the people doing the most work in this area.
Okay, are there any other board comments? Okay, I'll go to Lieutenant Tai. You have some comments on the audit policy?
Yes, sir. Thank you, board. So I was looking for some clarification on some of the things that we're looking at. Unfortunately, this is the first day I've been able to see the report with it all, so I haven't had a chance to review everything. So I apologize on that. Well, one of the things I would like to know is, when we're looking at the audits and are you talking about additional audits, like as future things are coming forward? Absolutely, because we work with the members of the Surveillance Advisory Board before we purchase any new equipment. So looking at how do we create a policy? What's the audit process going to look at? What is the safeguards for that? But in the report, the way I read it, it says all surveillance technologies, and it talks about anything communications. Communications could be radios. It could be where else. If we're looking at audits, what I'm afraid of is how are we going to create an audit process for every single type that we currently have, and then going, well, we have to report out this with the limited capacity that we have. And I was just hoping that you guys can clarify, what is it like what we're already reporting on? Are we talking about building off of that? Or are we talking about, and I know the board has the ability to say, hey, we'd like more information on things as they come about. Well, what I'm afraid of is, what is our scope looking at in that right now? And if this is something that, we could meet with the ad hoc committee maybe to figure out if we need to clarify it offline, that's fine as well. But I just wanted to at least point that out, because what I'm afraid of is over promising and under delivering. We say we're going to do all these different things on this, and all these things are going to come up, and we're going to be stuck in the middle going, we can't. And then everybody looks bad with that.
Yeah. The idea was that there'd be periodic checks of systems, periodic checks that individuals using the technology are using it as for the proper purpose, and there wouldn't be misuse. And if there were, that would come up on a check that you would do, or on an audit that you would do of the systems and of the logs. You may see that, and not casting aspersions, but you may see the Officer A logged in on Tuesday. Officer A doesn't work on Tuesday. There's no reason for Officer A to be logging in on a Tuesday. Just, things like that could slip through the cracks when we're not actually being proactive, and, rather than be reactive, we're actually getting ahead of it and saying, okay, let's I did my audit. Hey, I found this gap. I know later on we have something about reports, and you saw what happened recently in Mountain View, and someone just found, hey, we had this turned on by mistake for a while. And so it's really to identify those things, but also to um, eliminate misuse. I'm not saying that that it's happening, but it's to eliminate that, and if it does happen, that we're finding it before it becomes an issue.
So are we speaking in regards to like the current ones that we are, the ALPRs, the Ravens, the drones, the cell site simulator?
Yeah,
We're talking about just the current reports that you guys are already receiving.
yeah,
And then potential new technology that comes in.
that is my understanding and intent. But
Okay.
I'm one member
So
of
what
five
we're
up here.
already doing essentially.
Yeah,
Okay.
but also creating uh an opportunity for, I guess, if you're the one who does the audits, I presume.
Some of them.
Yeah. But to go in there, and really okay, hey, let me go through, make sure that everything is the way it's supposed to be. Because when we get into a routine, we can overlook things. And I think if we're adding that extra piece or that extra step where we're actually going in and again checking and making sure that things are the way they're supposed to be, with maybe a fresh set of eyes, maybe you're doing it in a different routine, we can identify things that we may have ordinarily looked over.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure we were talking about the information calendar that we're already providing and then new things that come.
Yeah.
Josh Catham, Lieutenant of Investigations. I did read this earlier today, and my one concern was a monthly audit of all technologies. That is going to be a massive amount of work for one analyst.
I think it was there. That's what I was
Yeah.
thinking.
And
That's
so-
what we're currently doing.
So our policies have audit plans in them already.
Well, I don't think it's the goal wasn't for, so who currently does the audits within the department?
Well, for
Okay.
instance, Flock is done by the Professional Standards Division.
Okay, but so are those sworn officers?
No, they're analysts.
Okay, thank you.
But it depends on the technology. For example, the use of drones technology is myself or Sergeant Abeda who's doing that. So it depends on what technology piece is being used or how. The cell site simulator is all funneled through Lieutenant Catham, right? Or his sergeant. So.
Correct. I think we just want the opportunity to discuss this and just to make sure we're all on the same page
Yeah, thank you.
before it gets adopted.
If I could, I think what you're kind of alluding to is a hand check of the data after the fact. Printing the raw data isn't as much of the issue. It's time and staffing issue to go in and hand check the data afterwards, which has a significant cost analysis built into it. So to adopt something like this that requires us to do those hand checks after the fact is going to carry a dollar sign to it.
Okay. Go ahead.
So I think these are really good concerns, and I'm glad they're raised because it strikes me that maybe this policy isn't ready for prime time if we have these sort of big concerns.
Yeah.
I am left a little. I certainly understand the purpose of the compliance review audit. I think it's essential. We've had discussions about, for instance, the mobile security towers does not have an audit policy that was written into the policy we've just approved earlier tonight. So the idea that we have an overarching policy is very attractive to me. So we don't miss anything. That you guys are the police department is looking at how these technologies are used and making sure they're used appropriately. I think I've just heard both that you're concerned that there's going to be a large investment of time to do a bunch of these audits, but at the same time, I think I also heard that you already do a bunch of these audits. So maybe that's something that needs to be discussed in the ad hoc committee, which is it? Is there overlap? Is there actually auditing already being done that would qualify under this policy? So it fits all the boxes and we can check it off as something that's already in the scope. Or is it something that we need that is new that you'd need to invest more time and money in? And hopefully, and I thought I heard that you actually do quite a bit of auditing of the surveillance technology. So I'm hoping that this policy is actually helpful in that it gets everything together into one place and doesn't create a lot of unnecessary work. So the idea would be we have a much better idea and comfort that the police department is auditing itself and using these technologies appropriately. And we have a better handle on what those audits look like, because quite honestly, I myself don't have a good handle on what you all do to make sure that the surveillance technologies are used well. I get the information reports, which are really helpful, but there's a lot more to it than that. So
Does any other board member have any questions or comments? Were you all done?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I apologize. Anyone else? Okay, I think I'm open. We can move the. I'm open to removing this portion, and we can have a discussion with the ad hoc committee and Lieutenant Ty and all of you to make sure that this gets. I don't know if we're looking to narrow it, but really make sure that it's clear. I think that this particular policy, I know we don't necessarily need to tie it to the work plan to get it moved through the council, but maybe we remove it from the plan tonight that we may or may not move forward, and then at least we have something to present to the council. I know we still need to kind of clarify the cost aspect of the expert witness, right, or the subject matter expert.
Sure, you could actually bifurcate
Right.
this, take the review audit piece out and present that to council separately. That was actually a separate request anyway from the work plan. And I think you guys decided to do it all in one fell swoop to help save time and move things along. But yeah, you could certainly bifurcate that. I think that might make it easier for you to go back with the ad hoc committee and meet with the VPD folks and get their input, and then come back to the board and make adjustments if you feel you need to. And then the board can adopt a resolution recommending the policy to council, and that can get on in their agenda at some point in the future for them to consider. Probably be helpful if it was needed for you all to talk about whatever the budget needs are going to be, if there's additional cost to it. I don't know. It sounds like maybe there is. But that might be something to discuss and consider as part of it. But yes, you could bifurcate that.
Just sorry, before I continue, board member Owen, did you have something you want to say? I did reaching for your microphone. I'm sorry. Okay, I apologize. No. Crazy idea. I presume if we had language to suspend that portion of the work plan until further discussion, could it move forward as a part of the work plan?
Well, sure,
if we suspend
I suppose
implementation.
you could present it to council saying, and letting them know that we're not quite ready on the audit piece yet, because we're still having discussions with the police department to try and beef it up. Yeah, I don't see a problem with you doing that.
Because we don't necessarily need to implement this, but it could be move forward as a part of the work plan.
Sure, and it
in
gives
its
them an
entirety.
idea of what direction you're headed in and that kind of thing. So yeah,
Okay.
you could definitely do that.
Sorry, I took your idea.
Oh,
go ahead. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I think the high level comment on this document is it's too specific. Like it's a plan to do the work, not the work. It's not the work. So we could strike out all of the recommendations and simply say, we plan to work on this. And I think that then no one's going to object to it, because we're not saying anything other than we're going to meet and discuss it. So let's, and unless we need to get specific to set a budget expectation, I would just remove all of the recommendations from this and just say we intend to work in this area. And I hope that'll address the concerns, because then we can actually talk about what's a reasonable audit plan before we get approval from anyone. Okay,
And
so that seems to, so that's I think a better path forward. I think maybe the structure of this is such that it's too specific, and that's why
I would agree.
We're doing the work in the meeting, which is kind of not the best way to do it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Is there sorry, Randy, if you could clarify it, there's no issue with the language that we have now, meaning if adopted here, if adopted in early March, nothing's obligated, right?
Well, no, not quite.
Okay.
So the way work plans work in Vallejo is once you present it, if council adopts that work plan, that basically is the work plan, and that becomes council policy essentially. There, in other words, that's what you're going to do. That's why they get to approve it. And essentially, adopting a work plan can add additional duties to what the board does under the ordinance, right? So in effect, they're able to essentially modify the ordinance by adopting a work plan. So you have to be careful with what you ask for.
That's why you're here.
Well, I'm here to try and help you. Yes, of course. But what the board member was saying about removing the recommendations at this point and basically making it part of the work plan, we're going to develop a compliance review audit policy for the city and bring it back to council for consideration. Even mention perhaps that you're going to have the ad hoc committee work with representatives from the police department to provide input as well. And also allow them an opportunity to talk about what the additional work burden would be on them and the additional budgetary considerations and those kinds of things.
Okay, thank you. No, thank you. I appreciate those. Yeah, I appreciate your comments and the suggestion. Anyone else? No, go ahead.
I would be supportive of that approach to the compliance review audit portion of the work plan. I'd also note that I don't think we need to attach a proposed budget. It seems like that's an item we could probably deal without a budget. So it would be a sort of a minor amendment to remove the content and put in something like the city attorney just mentioned, and we could move that forward.
Are there any other board comments on the work plan? Go ahead.
I have other comments as well. So I would love to actually be able to move forward tonight a work plan that we could pass on to city council. And I think we're in a place where we have enough direction here that with some changes, we can do that. And I would be supportive of that. I would suggest for something like the external subject matter expert that we attach a proposed budget to it. And honestly, I don't think we're going to get a budget that's sufficient to actually pay an expert what they would expect to be paid. But what we
can dream.
We could dream, or instead of dreaming, we could propose something like a stipend for people to pay for gas and to be able to go to a restaurant downtown if they were actually able to come and help. So, $100 if an expert were actually to come to pay for their transportation costs, travel fees. And that's something we could add up right now and say, if it's $100, $150 per visit, multiply that by 5 people, round up, and we're at $1,000 for a budget for the expert. Something like that, just so we have some number down, because otherwise we're not going to get any money.
Yeah, I like your suggestion. Should we do it that way? We can do that. Secretary Lance or David, do you have everything you need, or what clarity do you need for us to move this forward? So, I mean, we can start with the latest one. So I'll have you reiterate your suggestion and maybe we can kind of build on that.
Sure. So for the last piece, the external subject matter expert, I would suggest that for section 3 there, the budget considerations, instead of making it an action item for the future, we actually suggest a proposed budget. And I will say, doing some math in my head, I would say we structure it as a stipend or a travel fee stipend for experts that would be between $500 and $750 that would allow us to pay someone to come. So if, for instance, a law professor from Stanford to drive up here and drive back, That's gas money. That's a meal. So I'm open to discussion what the number might be, but I'll throw out 750.
Should we round up to 1,000?
Can I make a suggestion for the board?
Please.
So this is a little bit outside my wheelhouse, but if I were you, I would give them the dream and then they'll chop it down. So I don't think you should, I think you should start at 10,000 at least.
Okay. Microphone.
Down the road, we're also trying to do the community one, right? So
Oh, that would be separate.
Right, you need a budget for that too.
Yeah.
I would just make it an overall budget. Yeah, we'd like $10,000 to do these two things.
Okay. Any other thoughts? We all agree on 10? Anyone go for 20? Would it be better to break it down if we say maybe, or just, is it either if it's just an overarching budget of $10,000?
I think just an overarching budget,
Okay.
that's correct.
Well, I guess what I'm asking is if we break it down for the council and say, hey, we want seven for this, 3 for this, or if we just, would that get more of a better response or just 7?
You could, yeah, that's what I would do. 5,000 for community engagement, 5,000 for experts. Make it simple.
Okay. Well, I guess that's my question is that breakdown easier than just saying 10?
I don't think it matters that much.
Okay. That's all
I don't
I'm
think we need to overcomplicate. You can break it down that way, but the reality is that if you want to spend 7,500 on experts instead of 5, you'd be able to do that because you've
got the 10.
Right.
Gotcha. Remember, Owen?
Yeah, I think the theme tonight is specificity is the death of this plan. So let's be vague.
All right.
Okay.
So yeah, I think so I heard 15. No, I'm kidding. So we'll go ahead and ask for a budget of $10,000 for the SAB for all the items in the work plan here.
So just to be clear, we're just bringing, we're removing the audit plan from here.
I believe we were going to word it in a way that's as such it's more of a draft, I suppose, Randy, or how will we word that to the council?
Basically, Lance, what they want to do is to say that part of their work plan is to work on the audit plan or the audit policy. And this is their first draft. I mean, you could approach it that way. You could have introductory language that says, we'd like to work on a compliance review audit. This is an example of what we're considering. We're not ready to present it yet because we want to work with VPD and other stakeholders to flesh out the requirements of the plan and bring it back to council for consideration at a later date. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah.
Okay.
Everyone on board with those proposed changes? And forgive me, Manny, are there any public comment?
Through the chair, no speakers on this item at this time.
Thank you, sir. So then I will move the item with the proposed changes. Is there a second?
Well, just to be clear, so the item being what?
The work plan. So the work plan is going to move forward to the council with the compliance audit coming to them at the draft, with the caveat that we're going to work with VPD. The ad hoc committee will work with VPD to specify the scope of the work. And then we are going to move forward with requesting $10,000 overall for the work plan, but with the idea that we're going to move forward with paying a stipend to potential expert or subject matter experts to support the board.
Agreed. Thank you for that clarification. Should we remove also the budget consideration items from the external subject matter and the community engagement plan, just so we're not confusing things? And instead have a section 4, which is proposed budget?
Oh, that makes sense. Well, then in that case, I think we can actually remove the budget considerations entirely from the community engagement plan.
I think so too.
And just have a section at the end that says proposed budget.
It would be a section 4 that says proposed budget because we're just doing one lump sum, right?
Yep.
So, and then also remove an external subject matter expert that section of the report, we'd remove section 3 titled Budget Considerations.
Is that clear for you, Lance? Okay. Any other considerations? Go ahead, sir.
Well, are we removing the audit piece or are we amending it?
We're amending it as a draft. So it'll move forward as a draft with Congress, with the council being notified, hopefully through this report and our council liaison here, that this is only a draft and this is not if and when adopted, this does not obligate us for anything.
And Lance is going to add some introductory language in the plan itself explaining that this is a draft at this point, that you still have work to do, but you wanted to basically bring it forward to show them that you have an outline of
So it's
something.
not binding.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think it also allows us to get their input as well. So they'll see it. And so rather than us having to do it again and then they take it back and say, no, do it again, we're only going to have to go through that once. Yeah. Are we all clear on where we're at now?
Absolutely. And any of you can go to the council meeting on the 3rd if you want, when this item comes up, if there are questions, so that you can answer them, and I'll be there as well. So,
all right, thank you. So we have a motion on the floor. If I need to restate it again, okay. Well, I guess we have a second. Can we get a roll call, please, Lance?
Board Member Naran. Board Member Owen.
Yes.
Board Member Stewart.
Yes.
Board Member Bras.
Yes.
Board Member Colin Thompson.
Yes.
Motion pass.
All right. We're going to move on to item 10D, which is adding media related surveillance as a standing agenda item for future meetings. And I'll pass it over to our staff secretary, Mr. David.
This is just to bring it into future agenda. So do you want to make a motion to move this forward?
I need to ask a question though. What do you mean media related surveillance? I don't know if that's what you mean. I think if I understand what you mean, you want staff to bring forward, or the board can bring forward, if there are things that come up in the media. For example, the story in Santa Clara about the flock issue there. You want to put that on the agenda so the board can discuss it. Is that correct?
If I recall what Board Member Moreno was talking about, I think he was talking about the monitoring of social media by law enforcement as part of their sort of awareness of what's going on in the community. So I think that was his intent.
Okay, I don't know. I don't remember that.
Okay.
And
Well,
I think that could be a problem.
In that case, why don't we wait till he's here?
Okay, we could do that.
Okay.
You have thoughts?
Questions more than thoughts. So we don't know what this item is about then.
I think from what I remember, the last meeting, it was because there was a lot of different media reports. There were different media reports about the use of flock and surveillance technology, and it was being kind of thrown all over the place. I think the purpose of this was that staff bring forward media reports that had come up in the world of technology or surveillance technology between meetings, bring that up to the board just as an item for us to discuss. That's what my memory.
That's what I remember.
That's what I remember. Yeah. I think the wording kind of confuses it, which is media related surveillance. I think maybe surveillance related media maybe might have been created some clarity, but I think that was the intent with that. Hey, there's this article out there, just for you all to know about.
So that helps, and I didn't know how to interpret it, and that is along the lines of what I thought. So it's good to hear. And question maybe to the city attorney: Is there any other opportunity within these meetings to discuss things like that? Could I do that as a council member in the reports and just give my thoughts on something I saw in the news?
Can I answer that for you?
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, if I may. If we do it in the reports, we cannot discuss it as a board. That's just you talking and we're kind of stuck here listening. Forgive me, forgive the verbiage there, but we cannot have a discussion about it if it's during the reports. But if it's a standing agenda item, we can actually discuss it at the board.
Yep, what he said.
Great, thank you.
You could certainly bring it up in your report. You could say, hey, I just read this article. You even bring a copy if you want. I'm going to pass it out to the board, but you can't really have the discussion. Exactly right.
Anyone else have any comments or thoughts? If not, I'll move the item forward, and then yeah, next meeting or moving forward, it'll just be an item, and whether or not there are any media reports, we either discuss those reports or not. Yeah, so I'll move the item.
With that understanding, I would second.
Get a roll call, please. The motion is to adopt this as a standing agenda item. I can clarify if you need me to. Okay. Yeah.
Board Member Noron? Board Member Owen?
No.
Board Member Stewart?
Yes.
Board Member Bros?
Yes.
Board Member Colin Thompson? Yeah. Motion passed.
Okay, we're going to move on to item 10E, add an ad hoc committee work plan. Add ad hoc committee work plan updates as a standing agenda item.
May I jump here in the beginning?
Please.
Acting Chair. So I do have a concern, a legal concern here. If the ad hoc committee continues after the work plan is adopted, that becomes a standing committee. If it's a standing committee, now we have to find a meeting room. We have to have agendas to notice meetings, and we have to allow the public to have access. And I just don't know if we can find the room because we have a lot of meetings going on. And if you do that, I think it makes it very hard for us to accommodate you. However, you can certainly have a standing committee, or I'm sorry, you can have a standing item on the board's agenda to discuss the work plan and how you might want to change it as a board. You can do it that way. But if you do the ad hoc committee, that is going to create a problem.
Okay. Where does that leave us if it is adopted by the council? If it's still in draft, are we okay?
If it's still in draft, it's not finished, yes, you can do it until then.
Okay.
And then the ad hoc committee needs to be dissolved and you move forward from that point.
So, does anyone have any thoughts before we continue?
The chair, if
Yes, ma'am.
an ad hoc committee has reports, it's automatically a space on the agenda, every agenda, that the ad hoc committee speaks about whatever their meeting was about. So I'm not quite understanding what it is that what this really means, because on the agenda, it says reports, committee reports. So if there's a place always on the agenda for committee reports, as long as there's an ad hoc committee, that's the place where they make their reports. So what are we asking? What's the new ask for this? Because there's always a place for committee reports.
Well, I think this particular item was added for committee. That item I think you're referring to is item 9. That's from members of the board, just as individuals.
There's something that says about committee reports, right? Where is it? Committee and board reports. Report of chairman and members and of the committee and board.
Yeah, this committee and board as a whole.
Well, you're a board, so a committee would be a general term. You could include ad hoc committees in that particular part of it, and we could actually make it clear when we agendize it and add the words ad hoc before it on the agenda rather than a separate item.
Okay.
In case you could have additional ad hoc committees in the future.
Yeah.
That you'd want reports from.
Committee reports.
The one suggestion I wanted to kind of throw around was if we just remove work plan and just have ad hoc committee updates. And I think that was actually the intent before. Would that suffice for us to have this standing item?
Sure, that's essentially the same thing, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is the desire of the board? We can remove it. I'm not married to either one.
You're talking about removing the words work plan from item E?
Yeah, And I think because, and I'll just go back to when we had the before we had today's meeting with the work plan ad hoc committee, we were kind of, I guess, we were ignorant to that we could have done that during the earlier portion of the agenda. But I think having this, we can kind of better discuss whatever's coming out of the ad hoc committees.
That was my understanding of the proposal from last meeting, because I know if we have other ad hoc committees, having a standing agenda item to be able to talk about the work of those committees would be helpful.
Any other board member have comments? Okay, well then,
I just have one
Oh,
other
please.
from a legal perspective. So I would request that if you don't have any ad hoc committees working, that the item be pulled off the agenda so that some member of the public who follows what we do doesn't come and say, well, after a year that's been on there, well, now you have a standing committee, right? So
Gotcha.
we don't want to get criticized
Yeah.
for violating the Brown Act. So as long as we have ad hoc committees, yes, have it on. If we don't have any that are active at the time, then we would take it off.
Could it be then just committee reports, any committee reports?
Sure, yes, it could be. I would prefer that it be ad hoc committees because I think committees pretty open. Again, people can wonder what we're doing. What kind of committees do you have when we don't have any?
Anyone else have any thoughts? Any suggestions on how we move this forward? No. Okay. You know what? I'll move the item, then I'll move it as we'll add an ad hoc committee. We'll have ad hoc committee updates as a standing agenda item. And then we can strike work plan. And then as we move forward, and because I'd imagine we're not going to probably get through that draft in a month. So we're going to need this item for a little bit. As we move forward, then we can remove it as when it becomes necessary or unnecessary. So that is my motion.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Board Member Naran. Board Member Owen.
Yes.
Board Member Stewart.
Yes.
Board Member Bros.
Yes.
Board Member Corn Thompson.
Yes.
Motion passed.
All right. We are now on our information calendar, and we have a report from VPD.
I believe everyone has the technology uses report from the month of January that was sent to them. I'm here to answer any questions if you have them.
Go ahead, Board Member Owen.
Yeah, so I like the new flock report much better. So definitely easier to read. If you could just, I know I was in the discussion where we cut it down, but could you remind me, what is the criteria for being in this report now? It's because it's a lot tighter than the previous reports. I think we've filtered it by things that are also in your, well, actually, yeah, what is the criteria? Because I know this report is like 1/10 the size or 1/20th the size of the previous reports.
Which flock report are you referring to?
So I'm looking at the gunshot reports, the Raven reports.
Yeah, page
That's
72.
the one, yeah.
Sorry, that report is for the month of January, and it's every flock alert that we confirmed was an actual shots
All
fired.
right, so that's the change. These are confirmed reports as opposed to unconfirmed.
And so they had 5 matches in January.
All right, thank you.
Any other board member? No? I'll let you guys get some time. Manny, there anyone online wishing to comment?
Through the chair, no members of the public to speak on this item at this time.
Thank you, sir. I have no comments, but I'll allow my other board members to continue, please. All right, going once, going twice. All right, well, thank you all.
Thank you.
All right, and then we are going to move on to item 12, future agenda items. Do any members of the board have any future agenda items they wish to bring forward? Board Member Owen.
We'd like to start the process of getting a proposal on the agenda to have a facial recognition policy for surveillance technology.
So just be clear, Randy, we're going to agendize to have a discussion about having okay.
The city is a two-step process
Right.
for board members to put things on the agenda. So this will come back to you to consider for the entire board to consider adopting a motion to actually put it on the agenda to deliberate at another meeting. So you need 2 more meetings to do it. So it'll be a couple months before it actually comes to you for deliberation.
Guys, one clarifying question. Are you looking to have a committee develop that, or that's something you want the board to develop? Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. Anyone else? No? All right. Oh, go ahead. Microphone. Microphone.
So now that we have a sheriff department, do they also have access to this? We have the sheriff,
I understood that part. Are you asking if the sheriffs have access to our flock?
yes. So if they need or something happens, are they also any one person, individual have access to this?
We do share our information with the Solano County Sheriff's Office, yes.
But currently when they're monitoring south and east, I think, do they get alerts or?
They do
They-
have the ability to log into the system
Yes,
and get alerts, yes.
so they do. So
That's my
there's more
understanding.
people now have access to.
So they do, but it's through their own purchase of flock,
No.
but we just share cameras with them.
Okay, so currently let's say one, we have it in South Vallejo, one, we have it in East Vallejo. So now they're monitoring south and east. So whoever, let's say, needs something immediately, like, so they contact you or they have access to it so they can get to it sooner.
Yeah, so if they're investigating a crime in one of their areas of Vallejo and they need to utilize their flock system, they have access to the Vallejo cameras through their flock system immediately. They can search the plate and they'll get a hit in Vallejo.
They have the ability to log into flock through their system and access our cameras to conduct a search of our cameras.
So it's their authorization, but our cameras.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
We have to be careful about having discussion here. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. This is for future agenda. I saw you reaching for your microphone. Randy. Any other future agenda items? Do you have any more? No, Board Member Naran, any other items you want to bring forward next meeting?
No, we did.
Is that something you wanted to put on the agenda to discuss for?
And does everyone? listen?
I'm not quite sure. Well, that's up to you.
If you
I
want
mean,
to discuss the
Yeah.
sheriff's department's access to the city's block system.
Well, that's up to you to add, and then we will discuss next.
Right. And again, if you wanted to add it, would just be to add it to the agenda to consider whether to add it to the agenda to deliberate it.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Board Member Thompson, do you have something?
I beg your pardon?
You have something?
Nope.
Oh, okay, sorry. No. All right, we are adjourned. Thank you.